bittersweet, you know, because we've had to watch the building deteriorate as we're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's been painful, knowing that it wasn't big money things that could have slowed down the deterioration. Yes, to put it all right is going to cost a fortune. It's going to cost an even bigger fortune now with how long it's taken and how bad it's got. But it didn't have to be like that. We could have been using the upper floor if we'd have been able to change the door and get the liner up and air it out. It was only in the doorway. Now, the building was in use. There had some partial restoration, but that probably meant the upper floor. There was a luncheon club operated upstairs. This railing wasn't here, and the dog I had at the time had to regularly be wrestled out of the kitchen because he'd be straight in there to see what was on offer for the luncheon clubs and things. But the building was in a state of disrepair, so Alan Bailey, in partnership with the council, submitted a bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund in 1998, and they were awarded £250,000 for the Heritage Lottery Fund to be match funded by Sheffield City Council for the restoration of the building and bringing it back into use. Now, for reasons that are unclear, it took 4 years for that restoration to happen, and the building opened to great fanfare once again on the 19th of July 2002. Find it. Now, despite it looking quite amazing and everything, it somehow didn't really get used. The luncheon clubs didn't come back. The dancing club didn't come back. There wasn't much uptake of use. The relationship between the volunteer groups and the council deteriorated over this very fact, with the council sort of blaming the volunteer group. But the volunteer group had access just to the lower floor. They did put events on in the grounds and that, but if they had it wasn't their building. If they wanted to use the upper floor, they had to book it through the council system, same as anybody else. And if you did book it through the council system, if you were brave enough to venture either the telephone system or the internet at that time, which, by the way, for the council's not an awful lot better now, and you were able to book Birley Spa, you'd be given a key and a piece of paper, and the piece of paper would tell you how to turn on the electric and how to turn on the gas. So they didn't really roll the red carpet out and encourage people to make use of it. As I say, it's not really clear when things started to rapidly deteriorate. I do know around 2012, the volunteer group they handed their keys back in, and they decamped over to Shirebrook Valley, where they still are to this day. 2006, sadly, Alan Bailey passed away. I for years had thought he'd retired. I didn't realise that he'd died. What we do know, is very much evident, is that from that point on, there was no effort made to replace him as a volunteer or as a paid person, and gradually things within the grounds and everything started to slide. As a local resident, you could see it getting worse, but sometimes familiarity makes you not realise just how bad things are. And they did get bad. Luckily, in 2018, somebody who had lived locally but hadn't been here for years came down one day and was absolutely appalled at the state of the site. And they contacted the council and said, what's happening with Birley Spa? And the response they got was, the community don't care about it, it's going up for auction. Luckily, that message was put onto Facebook. There were a couple of community meetings about it. I attended one of them. And at the end of that meeting, Clive Betts stood up and said that the sale of the building would be halted, and they would look to working with a community group towards bringing the building back into use. That was the 31st of August 2018, and here we are today. As you can see, it's been going swimmingly. Things are improving now, but it's been a torrid journey, to say the least, and we've had to watch the state of the building get worse and worse and worse in the time, because we weren't allowed to do anything and the council wouldn't. But yes, we have a license to access the building to the 31st of December. It's only been granted this year. We've been doing it since 2019, but and we've now got a document from the council that will allow us to apply for funding, because it's been a long-standing issue that to get funding you need tenure, and you need tenure to get funding. And the council know this, so they just delight and say, oh, you prove you can get the money, we'll let you go. But yeah, we've got a document and we can start hopefully moving things forward. So we no longer have access to the upper floor, which is a massive bugbear, but there's nothing we can do about it. There were some very odd things done during the restoration. You used to step into the building, and to make it accessible for disabled, rather than putting a ramp, they raised the whole of the paving, so it goes straight, so water goes straight into the building. Then throw in not maintaining grates, having a steep driveway and steps that go to a door that's deteriorated. In 2018, that door was hanging on by a hinge, a padlock and a prayer, and I'm not even joking, it was literally, that's how it was hanging on. We offered to change the door and were told that the council had a duty of care for the building and we couldn't do it. In 2019, the council assessed the building and agreed that that door was insecure. In 2020, I begged for sandbags, but the damage was already done. And it was August 2021 before they finally replaced the door. And they only replaced it then because our local youths had tried kicking it in. Now, they weren't the sharpest tools in the drawer, because if they'd have pulled it, it would have fallen off. But yeah, that got the door replaced. We were told we'd get a key, and they didn't let us have one. So up until very recently, when a construction survey's been done, we'd not been allowed to see inside, and the council hadn't looked at it either. What we do know is what started off as just a little bit of damp in the doorway is now at least halfway across the hall. So even if we could go in upstairs, we wouldn't let you go in upstairs, because you could be downstairs considerably quicker than you'd fancied. And it would be quite a hard landing. So,
is there a plan for?
Oh, there's always plans, but unfortunately money is the thing, and we need money to back those plans up. We're working with the team who did the construction survey. I've got a meeting with them on the 13th of October, and we're going to look to submitting a request for funding to get all the stuff that we need, as in business plans, feasibility studies and things like that. At the end of the day, we never anticipated running a building. We thought somebody would come in and say, let's help us make this happen. And that hasn't really happened. We've had people offer to buy it. One in the last 12 months was really enthusiastic, wanted to help the community, wanted to get involved, knew about spas and everything. And when it came down to it, he wanted it to be a £500 a night Airbnb. Yeah, and I said I could never leave my house again were I to sell out our community like that. He put the phone down on me, and we never heard from him again. I know. Well, the council do still own it. Luckily, he didn't talk to them. You see, it's been an argument that's been had over time, is that we stopped the restoration of the building, we stopped the sale of the building. We've always maintained that if somebody had really wanted it, number one, the council would have sold it from under us without a second's hesitation. Number two, they would have let them, be known to us, whether it was to say, let's work together, or whether it would be to say, take a running jump. It never happened. Yes, absolutely, loads of people came to see it when it was going to go up for auction, purely because they'd never seen inside. I don't think there was ever any clear, real intent on actually buying it. There's massive caveats in place. I used to have a life and hobbies before this, and it's what got me involved, because I know that can be an absolute load of rubbish. This is a spa bath house in its own grounds. You cannot separate this bit from that bit. And that's what the council was going to do, which is what got me to that meeting. But the caveats around the sale of the buying of the building would be that if you could get planning permission to have it as a residence, you couldn't have a garage, you couldn't have a greenhouse, you couldn't build anything on here. You'd have to open the building for heritage events, and you couldn't do anything with the water. For what it would cost you to restore it, who is going to do that? And this here is your boundary, and beyond that boundary is accessible to everybody, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Plan was that?
It's all the council. That's parks. This is quite conveniently under housing.
That's on the parks and whatever. Recreation.
Yeah, that's parks and countryside. So yeah. So yes, this is where we are. Right, if you want to come and have a look at the pool, and then if everybody's happy to have a walk around the grounds, so I've got some more photos and things I can show you stuff as we go around there. Now we're not allowed in the pool room anymore because the council are helping us. But to be honest, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because along with the rest of the building, the pool hasn't been maintained, and it had a plug, a rubber plug, that perished in January last year. The plug went down the hole, and it's still there, which is slightly alarming, but the water is not. So although at one point it would have been a concern you could fall in the water, we'd likely get you out. If you fell in it as it is, it wouldn't be so good. There is, you can see how it all works so much better. Down there, that's where the water comes in. Now, bear in mind, we've had no significant rainfall for a very long time. That is the natural level of spring water coming in here as it does, which was quite a revelation to see. It is quite a force. Yes, it's affected by rainwater, but it doesn't go any less vigorous than that, no matter what. It has been tested 5 years apart. The levels haven't altered in the slightest, and those levels are perfectly safe for outdoor bathing. They chose to put standard electric sockets in here. Brushed stainless finish, and there are 4 of them in here. Only one of these 4 sockets in a functioning pool is actually in the water. You'd have to stand in the water to use it. Now, I'm no genius, but I know electric and water don't mix, and how that got past, I do not know. And yet at the same time, because I've seen some photos from the restoration, they put in waterproof light switches. So they knew there was an issue. This fills up with water.
All the way to the
2 just below the top step. Yeah. So we had waterproof light switches, and yet for lighting we had buckets on the walls in a room full of water, and then those things that blow up if anything touches them at all. But the council have informed us it was the squirrels that damaged the electrics. As you can see, the ceiling's starting to come down through there. All the ceilings are down, and this is because of the water ingress on the upper floor. It's nothing to do with the water that's in here. What doesn't help matters for the building in general is that the shutters on the outside of the building are ridiculously heavy, and as such, photos from even 2004, 2 years after it was restored, there was an open day here, there was a brass band in the garden, there was stalls set up, you could come and see the pool, and every single one of those shutters was shut. So this building's been in darkness for over 20 years.
How did they heat it?
They didn't.
It was just cold.
Yeah, but it's at 11.3 degrees. If you're into your cold water treatment, it's ideal. We've got outdoor swimmers want to use it because they are a broad church, and if somebody had been struggling with the health, whatever, didn't feel like jumping in a river, they could come here, and it's a lot more controlled environment, a lot more safe. We did put a survey out, and I directed it towards the outdoor swimming community, and sort of said, would you go in the pool? Yes. Would you go in it regularly? Yes. Would you pay to go in it? Yes.
A lot of people would go in.
Yeah.
Just the interest of it.
Is there anything else you would like? Can we have a coffee and a bun when we've done? Well, there you go.
You could even make like an outdoor eco sauna.
Yeah.
And have that.
Well, we did. Yeah, we had somebody. That's what he wanted to do, to have a sauna by the stream, and I must admit we did laugh because it wouldn't. Well, you couldn't do it here. It'd have to be inside the building. Yeah. If you put it down there, it'd end up in the pond. So the plug disappeared down the plug hole.
make a new one.
So we need to do one, but this metalwork here, we thought was a ladder for long enough, but it wasn't. It was part of a sluice, a pulley system, which would be a lot better way of controlling the level of the water and for maintenance, for cleaning it out. I mean, early on when we didn't think that people would be able to use the pool, we thought it'd be brilliant for dogs for hydrotherapy.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much, yeah. Yeah.
So, like, are you allowed in, but just not with visitors? Can you go past here for just you guys?
It's the fairies that put the lights up, not us.
Oh, yeah.
As I said, the E. coli thing was known about from 2000. The albums I've got, Alan Bailey and the gang that he worked with, they used to come down here every New Year's Eve, and he and one of the other volunteers would dress up in Victorian bathing costumes and swim in it. And they did it for years. The council stopped them doing it because of the E. coli, and yet they never tested it, because if they had, it was safe to swim in, as long as you're aware that it's there, same as you'd be with a river or anything else. But yeah, the council, not just Sheffield Council, all councils were extremely risk averse. For long enough, I'd been told that it was part of the spring line that goes under the Red Lion at Town End at Gleedless, and it splits. But then, after years of saying that, the person who actually told me said, actually, it was only ever a theory, they don't know.
What inspired it then to like do this work, really? You know, to get back to life, the plunge pool?
The pond.
Yeah.
That's what got me here. For Victoria and Dale, it was they had more memories from their own childhood. I didn't move here till the 80s. I used to come down here with my children when they were young.
Yeah.
But what got me to the meeting was the fact that they were going to sell it, and they were separating the building from the grounds.
Yeah.
And the pond has a kingfisher that overwinters. Not necessarily every year, but most years, and it pops up and down in between. I've seen it a lot over the last couple of weeks. And we're in the middle of a residential area.
Yeah.
Predominantly council housing, and you can walk 5 minutes down a driveway and you're in another world, and there's a kingfisher. How many people can say they can do that?
Yeah.
You know, it's accessible by one of the busiest bus routes in the city. I've called this before like Schrodinger's oasis, because being here is wonderful for mindfulness. Trying to save it has destroyed my mental health without a shadow of a doubt. But you know, it was that. It was the kingfisher what got me here. Like I said, that the history bit came after, and actually now I am fascinated in the story of this place, and there is so much that we don't know. And it just, I don't believe there's another one like this. This year we've gone on to the top 10 most endangered buildings for England and Wales by the Victorian Society. They see the value in it, and it would appear yet, you know, for a long time that this hasn't been acknowledged as the important thing that it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As it feel like walking around here now, you see what's been achieved?
It's bittersweet, you know, because we've had to watch the building deteriorate as we're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's been painful, knowing that it wasn't big money things that could have slowed down the deterioration. Yes, to put it all right is going to cost a fortune. It's going to cost an even bigger fortune now, with how long it's taken and how bad it's got. But it didn't have to be like that. We could have been using the upper floor if we'd been able to change the door and get the liner up and air it out. It was only in the doorway. And now I think, you know, there's joists going to have to be changed and everything. It's a massive job now. Yeah.
Yeah. What would we say your favourite part of the grounds is?
All of it.
Yeah.
All
Good
of it.
answer.
You've got a personal relationship with a lot of it. When the building was going to go up for sale, a lady took it upon herself to apply to Historic England to have it grade 2 star listed instead of just grade 2. She was unlucky. She was unsuccessful in doing that, but it was probably quite a good thing, because apparently it would have made it very difficult to do anything at all. But what was interesting was Historic England's response, because they said, like, no, thank you, we don't want to alter the listing, because when the building was restored, they removed the original slate roof, they removed the original cast iron windows, they removed all the original features from the upper floor, and they removed the original and indeed only internal staircase. So you cannot get from here to upstairs from inside the building. The staircase was here. We've seen plans of where it was here. So upstairs, there's nothing original left at all. Down here, when it was restored, this part of the building was used by the previous group as like a little visitor centre museum type thing. There is a original fireplace in here, but we've got that much stuff in here you can barely see it at the moment. We do have the Earl of Manvers family crest there, which I absolutely adore because it's quite clearly made by somebody who's never seen a lion in their life. Pie Raponi Te is the family motto. It's nothing to do with pies and tea. It's rest in piety with God. And again, nod to the weird things of the restoration. 1970s knotty pine wasn't a thing in the Victorian era, and why they put that in I don't know. As you can see, there are various gaps in it because at one point it used to ping off at regular intervals until Victoria's husband came and screwed him all in, and they've stopped doing that now. But it is quite handy because at least we can see upstairs and we can see that the floorboards at this end at least are dry. Yeah. Through here we have the coal hole, which is, will be where coal delivered, but it makes no sense to store coal there, purely because there is another spring comes in there. If it's heavy raining out there, it's heavy raining in there, and it's been doing that for nearly 200 years. So, brilliant bit of engineering to build it, but it's no place to store coal. If you have tides and monsoons, you go walk around.